And we have some very special guests joining us in our broadcast tonight. Professor Makarand Paranjpe joining us from Shimla this evening, from Bangalore, in fact, I'm told. He's the director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies. Author and economist and Labour politician Lord Meghnad Desai with us from London this evening. And writer and former BBC journalist Andrew Whitehead also joining us from London this evening. Good evening to all of you and good to have you all back with us here on Wion. Let's quickly take a look at the numbers that we have for you. We'll start with the state of Maharashtra. The contest was for 288 seats. Remember, the Maharashtra Assembly has 289 seats, but one seat is reserved for a nominated member. The results of the Assembly elections are on your screens. Those are the figures. BJP has won 103 seats, Shiv Sena 57. The Congress comes third with 46 seats, and the NCP has got a whopping 53 seats. The magic number for the Maharashtra Assembly is 144, and as you can see, no party has been able to cross the halfway mark. The BJP and the Shiv Sena had gone to polls together as an alliance. This is despite a difference in opinion on quite a lot of issues, including the RA forest. The incumbent alliance is set to form the government again. Together they have secured 160 seats, so that's a comfortable position. Shiv Sena chief Uddhav Thackeray spoke to the media earlier today and he said that the 50-50 formula should be held. The Congress and the NCP had joined hands for the election. Sharad Pawar's NCP won more seats than the Congress party this time, which is quite interesting. The old horse of Maharashtra politics, Sharad Pawar, had quite a challenging election run this time, but he stood tall against the ED's money laundering case, and his party has seen the gains. He campaigned hard this election. Several political scientists had written the NCP off this time, but going by the numbers, one can safely say that Sharad Pawar's NCP has made quite a comeback. Here's something interesting that you must know. Even though the Shiv Sena and the BJP are set to form the government, 7 of their sitting ministers have been defeated. Topping the chart is Pankaja Munde. She has lost from the Parli constituency of Maharashtra. She's the daughter of late BJP veteran Gopinath Munde. She's also the state's rural development and women and child welfare minister. Pankaja Munde lost the seat to her cousin, by the way, an NCP leader, Dhananjay Munde. According to the Election Commission of India, Dhananjay secured 1.22 lakh votes as against 91,413 votes secured by Pankaja. So the difference is quite big. Another interesting detail is that the BJP did not benefit from the Shiv Sena alliance. The BJP went alone in 2014. It got seats in triple numbers. And with this alliance, the party was confined to a double-digit score. The alliance did not work well for the BJP in 2019.
Now let's also take a quick look at Haryana results. The contest for a 90-seat assembly of this, the BJP won 40 seats, the Congress has won 31 seats and JJP has won 10 seats. The results in Haryana came as a rude shock for Bharatiya Janata Party. This was one state BJP felt would sweep. For BJP, the calculation was simple. It built a non-Jat social combination and it laced it with the nationalism narrative. This clearly did not work with the incumbent party because somehow the voters voted for different parties, which is Congress and JJP. The BJP emerged as the single largest party in Haryana, but it still fell short of the halfway mark. In fact, nearly 70% of the state cabinet lost in these elections. But BJP is not going to give in so easily. Sources tell Wion that BJP is trying to form post-poll alliances. Union Minister Amit Shah has already hinted that phones have been worked. He has thanked the people for giving an opportunity to serve again. The role of independent MLAs would be crucial here, but one must remember that most of the independent candidates are BJP rebels. Another surprise of 2019 election is Dushyant Chautala of JJP. Dushyant Chautala is great-grandson of Chaudhry Devilal, India's former Deputy Prime Minister in 1990s who served under VP Singh's government. He is now expected to play a very important role. Now Chautala has kept his options open. He said that he is open for an alliance with both Bharatiya Janata Party and Congress. His only demand is that he needs the chief ministerial chair. Now Congress too performed well in the state.
So what do we make of this election? What are the trends? What are the voters in Maharashtra and Haryana trying to say, both to the state governments and to the parties at the centre? Let's take it straight to our guests this evening. Professor Paranjpe, let's begin with you. The exit polls gave a clear lead, a clear win to the BJP in both the states. That hasn't happened. How do you see this result?
Well, first of all, once again, we have to contend with the fact that polling, exit polling and predictions and psephology in India is a very dangerous, I would say, unreliable profession, because most of the polls go wrong, and they were proved wrong this time too. I must also admit that the so-called experts and commentators, such as ourselves, we were also completely proven wrong. This shows only one thing, that is that the Indian voter is really smart, and they don't go by national trends, they don't necessarily go by, great and charismatic leaders at the center. They vote according to their own local needs and perceptions. The other thing is that we always say this, it's almost a cliche, but it's true. I think the great outcome of some of these upsets is still the vibrancy. The victory actually, goes to Indian democracy. The vibrancy of Indian democracy is once again, shown, and the surprises actually illustrate how closely fought elections are. And what a great, I use the word great in scare quotes, but what a great political class we have. They never say die. There might be princelings, heirs in the waiting, there might be local dynasties, but they give a really good fight. And I think this is what we have to appreciate, that no one national determining trend can tell us the outcome of our assembly elections.
Oh, I don't doubt the intelligence of the Indian voter and all that you've said, but there is a message, Andrew, in this result. Would you say? How do you see this result both in Maharashtra and Haryana? The BJP has made it, but barely.
Yes, these are disappointing results for the BJP, not as well as they hoped, not as well as they expected, and as Makarand was saying, not as well as the exit polls suggested. But I don't think it's really a setback. I think we're again seeing that Narendra Modi outperforms his party. The BJP tends to do a little bit better in national elections than it does in state elections. But I think we're also, the benchmark for what makes success in elections in India has been rather sort of overturned by the success of the BJP at national level. So there's of Sharad Pawar, who, as you say, is a real veteran street fighter, a really commanding politician, even though he's now in his late 70s. But the NCP and Congress together are still a long way behind the BJP and Shiv Sena.
Andrew, what do you have to say about the pushback which Bharatiya Janata Party has received from the regional players? If you look at data post 2014, regional parties were losing in front of Bharatiya Janata Party, and suddenly you have the Sharad Pawar, who's 80 years old, performing pretty well, and then you have a new regional leader in Dushyant Chautala JJP, again doing very well in Haryana.
Yes, but the JJP are in third place in Haryana, so let's not overstate that, and the NCP are in third place in Maharashtra, so they're doing well. And clearly, I think some of the BJP's tactics in terms of winning over political figures from rival parties appear to have backfired. At least that's what Sharad Pawar is saying. So I think that there's a note of caution there, perhaps, in terms of the BJP's tactics. But I don't think this is a setback which will really get people too worried at national level.
But then whose performance is this? Would you say that is it because of Sonia Gandhi's different style of governing the Congress party? Or would you say that the Rahul Gandhi was absent, so it worked for the Congress party? Where did this pushback happen? Because ultimately, BJP expected to sweep both the states.
Yeah, and I think it's a reminder of the inertia in politics. So parties take a long time to fade away. I think that the NCP has had a little bit of a blip of success, though I think in the longer term it does seem as if it is likely to slowly fade out. Congress has done better, largely because if you want to vote against the BJP, where else do you go? But you talk about the governance of the Congress party. Unless I'm missing something, there is no governance of the Congress party. The Congress party is in a state of really serious crisis. And this is a little bit of respite for them, but it doesn't mean that crisis is in any substantial way abated.
Right. We have two other guests who've been very patiently listening to this. So let me also first introduce Amy Kasman, South Asia Bureau Chief of Financial Times, joining us in the studio. Good to have you here. And Lord Desai, let me ask you the question that I've asked the other panelists. How do you see this result and what message does it have both for the Congress and the BJP?
I think the first thing to note is that the Indian voter has learned to lie to exit pollsters. Basically, you know, when they come out, they say, how did you vote? They just say BJP, partly to kind of avoid any suspicion that they're being disloyal, but partly also because they just don't want to necessarily be frank with the pollsters. Who the hell are the pollsters? So I think pollsters will have to revise their tactics. In the UK, it is already happening that exit polls or even any kind of polls are not producing very good results. Voters have acquired their own minds and they are playing strategic games. Recently there was a report that one of the BJP netas said, oh, we know how you are voting and we will catch you if you don't vote against us. I mean, if BJP people go out saying that, then definitely people have an incentive to lie. So I think BJP will have to learn no election can be taken for granted. No matter how popular you are, local issues do matter. And people do express their dissatisfaction. They have ways of doing it. As Makarand Paranjape said, Indian democracy is well and healthy, and you can't fool the Indian voter for too long.
You think this election was taken for granted?
Haryana is really a wake-up call. I think the idea that you only mention national issues like 370 and you don't mention any local issues. Local issues matter in state elections. People are not voting on Kashmir in Haryana or in Maharashtra. They are voting on Roti Kapda Makan. And you know, you have to be aware that the economy is not doing very well right now. And I think voters are expressing their view on that. And there's also the Jat factor in Haryana, because Jats are very unhappy. Now, what are you saying to them? That's why Chautala, you know, third generation Chautala comes out and gets support. Right. Now, that is a continuity in Haryana politics, which is going to be there.
Sure. Amy Kasman, is this really a setback for the BJP, or is it being judged too harshly? Because this is a party that has gone from strength to strength and has made a habit of winning elections very big. So this time when the tally isn't as expected,
well, look, I think it's important to remember that at the end of the day, it appears that they're likely, I mean, certainly in Maharashtra, they're going to retain control, and I suspect, you know, in Haryana, they will retain control of the two states. So, although it's a disappointment in terms of their absolute showing, I mean, they will still retain their grip on power unless there are further surprises in the offing. But I think, like Lord Desai said, I mean, this points to something, which is that you know, look, in the national level, you know, Prime Minister Modi is exceedingly popular. He has a very, you know, his approval ratings are very high. He's, you know, for the people who like him and support him, he's incredibly, you know, they see him as charismatic and incorruptible, and, you know, he's delivering things that they support. And, you know, so there's a whole reason why, you know, the kind of dynamic at the national level is the way that it is. But those dynamics are different at a state level, where local issues and issues that are closer to home start to figure in.
And yet there are states where the BJP was voted to power without a strong face because people said they're voting for Modi. So if the wins are the wins for the Modi-Shah combo, will the setbacks also be attributed to them?
I don't really know, but I mean, to me, what's very, very interesting is that when you look at kind of what we now know is that when Indians went to the polls in April and May, they went to the polls at a time where the economy was slowing down dramatically. Now, normally you would think that this would hurt an incumbent government, especially an incumbent government that had come to power on the promise of reviving the economy, creating lots of new jobs and opportunity, and in fact, just as we were going to the polls, the reverse was happening. So maybe those states, you know, and it's interesting to me, and when those numbers came out about the first quarter growth being just 5%, and you think, wow, and then you look at that victory in a whole different way, like what's really behind this victory when, you know, and he could pull this off at a time when the economy was only growing 5%. Now the economic slowdown is kind of, you know, we're a few months later in into what's obviously a very serious crunch. Haryana, a big hub of the auto sector, has seen like massive, production holidays in the car factories, job losses. Of course, those people aren't, local Haryanvis aren't necessarily the people working in the car sector, but they are, they get boosted by all the migrant workers from other states. So there's a whole boom in Haryana. It's absolutely falling apart. So, maybe now people are starting to take out their anger or express their discontent, not necessarily against Modi per se, but against the local leadership of the BJP.
Palki, there's one thing which I would like to add. If you look at the election results of both Haryana and Maharashtra, a lot of independents have won. More than 10 independents in Haryana, there are 31 independents in Maharashtra. So one thing becomes clear that it's not a wave election. And second thing, it also tells us that the local factors were at play. We don't have the data right now, that deep data which can tell us why certain segments voted the way. But the fact of the matter is that you had people like with criminal history like Gopal Kana, who was jailed, win an election in Haryana, tell us that the election went down 2 seats and local caste combination. Now, this has happened for the first time in 5.5 years of the Modi government. Why, we'll come to know later, but then this sort of a pushback from the local sectors is very, very important.
Right. Makarand Paranjpe, the loss of 7 ministers doesn't make for a very good copy for the BJP.
Totally. I don't want to mitigate the setback that the BJP has received. A part of it can be attributed to anti-incumbency and the economy, as we just heard. But there's more to it. There is a genuine dissatisfaction, and in a way, non-performing ministers have been shown the door. In fact, one way to understand the elections is a vote in favor of the BJP Shiv Sena in Maharashtra is quite remarkable. And then a vote against the BJP in Haryana shows actually the huge gap. We must actually admit that the Khattar government hasn't lived up to the people's expectations. The second thing, I think, which is really important, and again that was referred to by my other esteemed co-panelists, is that the caste calculus, again, has surfaced. So what we see in India is if you have an overarching national narrative with a charismatic leader, then these local issues or the caste politics or the very nitty-gritty fights that go on in particular constituencies, in a way get submerged. And when that overwhelming presence or wave subsides a bit, then all of this underbelly, or you might call it the undercurrent, suddenly comes up. So I think the thing about Indian politics is the persistence of the residual trends as well as the capacity of the avant-garde movements to overtake these residual trends from time to time.
Andrew, so we're talking about the issues, and I think most of us agree that nationalism and Article 370 did not quite click. And do you see a gap here? Because for a state like Haryana, where so many people come join the armed forces, for them to not relate to or not vote on the basis of the so-called nationalistic agenda is a bit of a dichotomy, would you say?
Well, I suppose in a way the rescinding of Article 370 is the demonetisation equivalent of Narendra Modi's second term. I think the BJP has again controlled the narrative. So broadly, apart from obviously in the Kashmir Valley itself, where there's a deep amount of unhappiness, and in to some extent in states like Tamil Nadu, who are worried about the implications for federalism, there's been a groundswell of support across parties for the scrapping of 370. But it doesn't really touch on the way that people live their lives. And as Meghnad Desai was saying, in state elections in particular, you're more likely to be swayed by local issues than you are about what's happening in Kashmir, which for most people in Maharashtra and indeed in Haryana seems quite remote. And as Amy Kasman was saying, I mean, the issue of the economic slowdown really is a very important one, both in Haryana and Maharashtra, which are among the more industrialized of India's states. And this is a much bigger issue, I think, for most voters, and the results suggest this, than what's happening in the Kashmir Valley.
Right, and these are live images coming in, Karthikeyan.
Yes, absolutely. The Prime Minister, the BJP Home Minister Amit Shah, who is also the president of the party, Nitin Gadkari, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, they are all there. It's a signal that the Bharatiya Janata Party doesn't treat these results as a defeat. It's a signaling to the cadre that ultimately a victory is a victory. And if you can form the government, then you should form the government. So there's also a change in that culture. You would remember, Palki, Congress was unable to form a government in Goa despite having more numbers. They were unable to form the government in Manipur despite having more numbers. And BJP formed government in both the states. So I think there's a difference of culture also. But I think the larger issue here is the man standing on left of Amit Shah. He is the new acting president of Bharatiya Janata Party, and BL Santosh is the new organizing secretary loaned from RSS, replacing Ramlal. So I think people will within Bharatiya Janata Party ask question as to how did this team of new JP Nadda and BL Santosh work, because ultimately Amit Shah and Modi only campaigned this time around.
Meghna Desai, we've been debating this in the Wion newsroom all day today. So when the Congress loses, it is Rahul Gandhi's loss. When they win, it is the win of the regional players. When the BJP wins, it's the Amit Shah and Narendra Modi combo that has done well. But when they haven't done as well as the previous times, it's probably JP Nadda. How does this work?
Well, this is the usual thing that when you win, the boss gets it. When you lose, you get it. I think what's important here also to note is that the Congress performance in Haryana has to be commended, because Congress has completely fallen apart, as Andrew was saying. Despite that, despite the disorganization, Congress has stood up in Haryana with not a bad score. And I think it's very remarkable that they did worse than NCP in Maharashtra. But Haryana, them doing well, despite the fact that Sonia Gandhi did not go to Haryana. There was all this thing about insulting her by talking about the Chuha and all that. Now, Congress can console itself that it has not been totally wiped out. It's living for another day, maybe another state, maybe Bihar, we don't know. And they will take a lot of consolation from the way they performed in Haryana.
Let's once again go back to what's happening in Maharashtra, and we heard from Aditya Thackeray earlier in the day, and that sort of sets the tone for what's coming ahead. Let's quickly listen in to what the Shiv Sena leader had to say after the results came out.
I think I'm very happy that the people have blessed me with so much margin and so many votes. And the rest, I think Party President Uddhav ji said in a press conference.
What about the CM candidate?
It all has been said by Party President. Right now I'm here to collect my certificate. I thank the entire staff that has been working here of the Election Commission across Maharashtra, all the staff that has been working, and the police personnel, paramilitary troops that have been supporting this election.
And the Shiv Sena is also talking about working on a 50-50 formula. Karthikeya, do you see a difficult marriage ahead?
I think it's not a difficult marriage, but I think Bharatiya Janata Party will need to make some adjustments. Last time around, they had this political elbow room, Palki, because Sharad Pawar had said that, well, we'll support the government, BJP has the mandate. Now, after so much of acrimony because of Prafulla Patel and other cases, I don't think they're going to get any support. They will have to accommodate the ambitions of Thackeray family, which is Aditya Thackeray. But I think the question which you asked and the point which was made, the surprise of Congress in Haryana, the larger question here is, has old guard worked better than the young guard? Has Rahul Gandhi's team completely failed, and the old Sonia's team comprising of Ahmed Patel and other people who had been there in politics for 25 years, did they deliver? If Sonia would have asked Huda to look into it maybe 3 months back, the competition could have been closed. She did not campaign in Maharashtra. It was a state where the CLP leader defected, PCC chief was non-functional, the head of the Mumbai unit defected, and they still got little more seats than they got last time around. So this is something which is very, very important. Can Congress do well without Gandhis? I think they can.
I think this has been established. I think election after election, we've also discussed this. Will the Congress do better without the Gandhis? And let's also quickly revisit the BJP headquarters. I think Amit Shah is making a statement.
हरियाणा में कभी हम मुख्यमंत्री नहीं बना पाए थे, महाराष्ट्र के अंदर भी कभी हम मुख्यमंत्री नहीं बना पाए थे। 2014 में देश की जनता ने एक परिवर्तन किया। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में पूर्ण बहुमत देकर केंद्र में सरकार बनाई, मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बने, तुरंत चुनाव आया और दोनों जगह भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनी। दोनों सरकारों ने 5 साल तक जनता के विश्वास पर खरा उतरते हुए दोनों राज्यों के विकास के लिए समभाव के साथ सबका विश्वास के सूत्र को चरितार्थ करते हुए सरकार चलाई और एक जीरो करप्शन वाली सरकार दोनों राज्यों में देने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी के 2 नेताओं ने किया। श्री देवेंद्र फडणवीस और मनोहर लाल खट्टर जी ने दोनों राज्यों की जनता के विश्वास पर खरा उतरते हुए ये सरकारें चलाई और 5 साल पूर्ण करने के बाद जब चुनाव का नतीजा आया, मुझे इस बात का आनंद है, दोनों जगह भारतीय जनता पार्टी की विजय हुई है। दोनों राज्यों की जनता ने हमारे मुख्यमंत्रियों को काम को ठप्पा लगाने का काम किया है।
Interesting results for the 51 by-polls which took place in 16 states all across India. Now, those by-polls results were declared today. In the next 1 hour, we'll also take a look at all the numbers. We will take you and talk about their implication, and we will bring to you the takeaways from these elections. So, if we look at the larger picture of the 16 states, we'll find that BJP has done pretty well, but regional parties too have consolidated in areas. For example, Congress has done well in Punjab, Bharatiya Janata Party has done well in the state of Uttarakhand, or for example, in other states, the regional parties have also done well, like Tamil Nadu. So it's a broad picture, Palki, and it shows that regional issues were in play when it came to these seats.
Right. And Lord Desai, I want you to weigh in on the comeback of the NCP and how Sharad Pawar put in all that he had to ensure, and those pictures have since been discussed repeatedly. He campaigned despite heavy rains, and his party has seen the fruits of it.
I think it's a remarkable career for Sharad Pawar, because unlike Congress, which has kind of fallen apart in terms of choosing the leader and so on, Sharad Pawar has maintained a stronghold on his party. He knows Maharashtra like the back of his hand, and he has deep, deep roots in Maharashtra, sort of, the rural politics. And, it's quite remarkable that he has maintained his sharpness. Congress asked him to merge, and he said, nothing doing, I'm not merging with Congress, because he knew that as far as his home ground is concerned, he can do better than Congress. He sort of knows that, and he doesn't want to lose that identity. So I think, all power to him. He has lasted a long time, it's always good to see a regional leader. He's actually a national leader, but he's a good regional sort of stake in Maharashtra, and he has once again succeeded. And I think, as someone was saying, the thing that the CBI is doing with Praful Patel and so on, he's going to say, if you want my help, get off Praful Patel's back, because I'm not going to have this sort of harassment going on. He's a shrewd man, and he will show his clout. Congratulations to him, I would say.
Andrew Whitehead, was an alliance with the Shiv Sena a bad move for the BJP?
I think it's necessary. The BJP and Shiv Sena have had, at times, troubled relations, but they have had a long history of working together. The Shiv Sena are turbulent allies. They are a very bruising political party, and Chief Minister Fadnavis will be reminded of that as he tries to put together his cabinet. And already, as you say, Uddhav Thackeray has made his bid for half the seats in the state cabinet. It's a good try. I don't think he's going to get them, but he's going to fight for as much as he possibly can. If you look at the figures, the BJP still has almost twice as many seats as Shiv Sena. Shiv Sena has done a little bit better, or in other words, its losses are more modest than the BJP's. But the BJP and Shiv Sena are quite a good fit. And do remember, in the 90s, Shiv Sena was the senior party of the alliance in Maharashtra. So the BJP, in relative terms, is doing better now than it has done in the past.
Makarand Paranjpe, your take on this. The Shiv Sena BJP alliance, they've had too many very public differences.
I think these regional leaders, Amrinder Singh in Punjab, Sharad Pawar in Maharashtra, even Bhupender Singh Hooda, you know, there are 3 generations of Hoodas. Now it's Dipender Singh who's also entered the fray. So these are political families with tremendous roots in these areas, and they know everybody on the ground. They have a strong relationship going back to several generations with the local power brokers. And I think they keep, in a way, surprising us by surfacing again when the overwhelming national narrative subsides a little bit. And I think I also agree that the alliance between Shiv Sena and the BJP, even though it's a rocky marriage of sorts, is a necessity for both of them. But here I must say that Devendra Fadnavis has the political savvy to accommodate when required, and also, in a sense, dominate when he needs to. So I think he's going to pull through well. In Haryana, they'll have to do a rethink. I think that Mohanlal Khattar was an experiment. He was an outsider, the son of Punjabi migrants from Pakistan. And really, this trial wasn't entirely a failure, but it's not a sure shot for the success of BJP in Haryana, as was thought.
Amy Kasmir, I want to dwell on the point that you made about the industry in Haryana. And when we were going into the national election, there was a lot of debate about the jobs data. And the figures finally came out only after the election results were out. So what explains this difference in approach, A? And do you believe that this election at least shows that it's not always easy to keep politics away from the economy? At some point...
I mean, I think, you know, in our, covering different elections in the past, people have also been very clear. The national election is a national election, and the state election is a state election. And these are different things. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're voting for a chief minister, you're not voting on national security issues. You're voting on, is this chief minister going to run the state well and manage well? And so I think people, when they're voting in the state elections, feel much more that they're voting on like the local issues that are closer to home. And it's very clear that Haryana in particular, as a hub of the auto industry, which is going through an absolutely terrible time, has been hit very hard by the current economic slowdown. And I mean, that may not mean that necessarily people don't want to see, Modi as prime minister and now want to see Rahul Gandhi as prime minister, but they feel a little grumbly. And now they're going in and they're kind of making their discontent felt. And I just think people do have I also found it a little disconcerting to hear Modi campaigning about Article 370 in Maharashtra. And I wondered, okay, people like that, but maybe people want to hear leaders talking about issues that touch them much more directly. And I guess maybe that's what happens in the kind of the state elections.
Right.
And that's where
in
you
fact,
see...
he's just spoken, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah.
Prime Minister Modi is saying that this is an early Diwali for the BJP. So they're not looking at this as a setback, as Karthikeya said. Let's listen.